Hello and good afternoon. I'm Julie Loar, and I'd like to share with you. I'm going to be reading a talk that I gave earlier this morning on the eve of Halloween. And I'd like to begin with a quote from Chief Seattle. Our religion is the traditions of our ancestors, the dreams of our elders, given to them in the solemn hours of the night by the Great Spirit, and the visions of our sachems, our shamans, and is written in the hearts of our people. So tomorrow, on the last day of October, we celebrate Halloween, Samhain, All Hallows Eve, or All Souls Day, depending on the tradition. Samhain in the ancient Celtic language meant Hallowtide and was the Celtic New Year, a time set aside to honor the dead and to pay attention to all the manifestations of the thinning veil. This time of year, when the annual turning of the wheel presents an opening to the spirit world, provides a more open portal to communicate with beings no longer in form. Likewise, the ability to receive messages through this opening is enhanced. The Mexican celebration of Los Dios de los Muertos is celebrated on November 1st and 2nd, and home altars called ofrendas are prepared and decorated with food and other offerings to help departed loved ones on their journey through the afterlife. These offerings are joyous celebrations and family gatherings to remember and honor those who have passed. The history of Halloween stems from the Celts, and we have to peer back in time nearly 6,000 years to trace the shadowy origins. Halloween and Thanksgiving have the same root origin, and their purpose was to celebrate the harvest before the cold and dark of winter. Millennia ago, the year began on the date we now call October 31st, after the final harvest and midway between autumn equinox and winter solstice. We are so much more than meets the eye. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Apollo astronaut and former director of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, said, quote, "There is a spectrum of consciousness available to human beings. At one end is material consciousness. At the other end is what we call field consciousness, where a person is at one with the universe," close quote. We might say that continuum of body, mind, and spirit expresses this. Beyond ordinary waking awareness, our expanded selves exist in a realm where precognition, prophetic dreams, synchronicities, and serendipities are the order of the day or night. Have you ever had an experience of synchronicity so powerful you can recall it in all of its intensity? Those luminous moments break through our ordinary awareness and remind us of our connection to the larger universe. Dr. Deepak Chopra has said, "An event seen only as a coincidence rather than a moment of profound grace loses the opportunity for transformation." This realm is always open to us, but we must widen the lens beyond the material world, pull back the veil, and enter the inner domain of spirit, which is the origin place of dreams and synchronicities. Here, synchronicities, serendipity, and seeming miracles are commonplace. Dreams are the portal to this expanded reality, and heeding the messages in dreams stretches far back in time. 3,000 years ago, the Upanishads, Hindu sacred texts, described dreaming as a higher state of consciousness than the waking state. Indigenous shamans around the world consider dreams to be important messages from the spirit world. These native healers and teachers interpret dream symbols, clarifying and illuminating the spiritual lives of their communities, and they've done this with wisdom for thousands of years. Dreams matter at every level of our body, mind, and spirit, from the most ancient wisdom traditions to the frontiers of medical research and quantum physics. Testimony supports the importance of dreams in physical health, emotional well-being, guidance, and spiritual growth. Paying attention to dreams and learning their symbolic language pays big dividends in growth and personal transformation. As winter approaches in the Northern Hemisphere, people are driven inside and animals search for a safe haven. In the modern world, Winters dark and cold are illuminated by artificial light and warmed by generated heat, so the conscious passage of this season is sometimes unnoticed. And because we are insulated, we lose touch with the darkness and its important part in the rhythm of life. Prayers for the dead and activities to honor and communicate with ancestors are common activities at this time in cultures around the world. Leaving an ancestor's plate on the table is the origin of the treat part of Halloween. And the trick part, at least in America, came much later before World War II and was called Mischief Night. Modern celebrations of Halloween therefore include ghosts, goblins, witches, and costumes, as well as trick-or-treats. Carved pumpkins with candles inside were meant to scare off evil spirits. The symbols and traditions of this time of year are remnants of practices that have to do with engaging and interacting with the unseen realm. The same is true with dream work. And making the most of our dream time can be enhanced at this time of year because of the thinning veil that separates the worlds. Our own awareness is heightened, allowing us to perceive energy that we normally don't sense. Death and what awaits us when we depart physical existence are among humanity's greatest mysteries and most profound questions, perhaps second only to where we came from and why we are here in the first place. Most people believe that earthly life is not the end and that some aspect of our soul or spirit continues after death. Dreams are one of the ways we move back and forth between the veil that separates the visible world from the unseen realms. The Buddhist tradition, the Bon tradition of Buddhism, has a practice called dream yoga and believes that learning to dream lucidly prepares us for what is called the bardo in that tradition, navigating life after death. Sometimes dreamers encounter deceased loved ones in their dreams. While this may be symbolic of what the deceased person represents, often these are real meetings. Many people also report visits in dreams from relatives at what would later be determined the moment of death, as if they were stopping by to say goodbye before the next stage of their soul's journey. These powerful experiences often help with loss and grief, strengthening the sense that life continues after death. Setting time aside for dream work that has to do with those who have gone before can yield huge dividends in forgiveness, release, and surrender. Some dream fragments are actually memories of our own nighttime travels in the spirit domain, and at this time of year, dreams can be more intense. Dream symbolism may relate to unfinished business, unspoken communication with deceased loved ones, and therefore karma may still be in operation, draining resources and inhibiting growth in our waking life. Another benefit of working consciously with the parting of the veil near Halloween is a heightened ability to communicate with our own spirit guides. If we take advantage of the opening, our guides will speak to us through dreams. This is almost the opposite of the old adage, make hay while the sun shines. Here we are doing deep work that can only be done in the dark, when the soul is in charge rather than the less evolved personality. Getting serious about your dream journal and remembering to ask important questions before you sleep offers the opportunity for an abundant harvest of personal growth. Dream oracles and healing temples, such as those of Asclepius in ancient Greece, existed at sacred sites around the world where pilgrims traveled seeking dream interpretation, healing, or guidance in major life decisions. In antiquity, a pilgrimage was a major undertaking, often potentially dangerous and requiring considerable investment of time and resource. People traveled to these sacred sites of power, healing temples, and oracle centers seeking guidance. These seekers were motivated by some deeply felt need to undertake the long and sometimes arduous journey. These pilgrimages were undertaken at considerable sacrifice and usually only once in a lifetime. People traveled great distances, enduring hardships we can only imagine, and with considerable investment. They often prepared for years and were dedicated to getting the most from their journey. It's likely they carried strong intentions as they journeyed, and a great deal may have been at stake in terms of how they implemented the answers they received. Sometimes there were questions about declaring war or the fate of nations or monarchs, so often much was at stake. Although it is my dream to someday build an actual dream oracle temple, I have found that it is possible to recreate the experience in the midst of modern life when seeking counsel on a spiritual question or any serious matter. We can recreate the sense of being present in a sacred temple through the power of intention, visualization, and ritual. Like pilgrims from thousands of years ago, we can undertake an inner journey and make a symbolic sacrifice of time or energy to enter the sacred shrine of our inner hearts, opening to higher guidance. This practice is powerful because of focused intent. So you might set aside some time over the next few days, especially at this time of Halloween, and create a sacred space for your virtual pilgrimage. Write down your concerns, your hopes or fears. What message of healing or forgiveness do you hope to receive from a departed loved one? And what message would you like to send? Cultivate the same intention as an attitude as if you were embarking on a meaningful journey to a sacred site. And let go of your judging self. Take time to consecrate the space where you would do your ritual preparations and cleansing. Be willing to undergo your own symbolic catharsis, as happened in these ancient dream temples, as a way to augment your sense of preparation. When visiting an ancient temple and oracle, pilgrims knew the power of the right question. As Plato also knew, formulating the right question is crucial to receiving a meaningful response. In fact, it may be the most important thing we can do when faced with a problem or question. It's not until we know how to precisely frame the question that we are ready to hear the answer. In a sense, we have to build a container to receive the response. Setting a specific intention, formulating a question before retiring for the night, can set the stage to receive an answer in your dream. The idea is to plant a seed and let it grow through the magic of symbols. A few thought-provoking questions to get you started. What message do I want to receive or send to my departed loved one? Where is the pain, the grief, anger, sorrow, or loss? What needs to be healed? And where is the joy in my life, the love, the anticipation? Where's the promise? And what is my future work, my service, my bliss? What is next in my life? And what needs to be reclaimed? Meditate before you sleep and gently repeat your question just before you turn out the lights. And remember, maybe most importantly, forgiveness and letting go of regrets doesn't change the past, but it can transform the future. Thank you very much, and happy Halloween.